Hi guys, Jackie. Now, this story is a few days old, and it is absolutely not something that I ever thought that I would want to get back into. I'm not really one to. I'd stop doing politics, but this is actually fairly important, and I know a lot of you probably going to hate me for this. Because who I am as a person, what I am, what I represent, and stuff like that. But I'm not a part of a cult. I have my own opinions, my own who I am. And there's a lot of people that probably don't like me. I know there's a lot of YouTubers that don't like me. I know there's a lot of people out there that would love to trash who I am as a person, attack every bit of my being. That being said, Texas Supreme Court denies Jeff Younger's petition to keep children in Texas in light of California's trans refugee law. You see, and I'm not going to go heavily deep in detail reading this, but it does actually upset me a lot. A lot more than what a lot of people would think that I should be upset. And I am constantly pinged daily on the discords that I am involved with that allows political speech with this story. I am just tired of this. Now, I've never dealt with the Texan. I've never dealt with them as a news. But I can tell you a lot about the story, despite the fact that I really don't want to be making this video. And I have a feeling that YouTube's going to throttle the hell out of this video. The Supreme Court dismissed the man's position, the Supreme Court of Texas dismissed this man's petition to keep his children in Texas with him because his ex-wife has essentially fled to California claiming one of his sons is trans. Now, a vague overview of the story that a lot of people miss is that the son that she claims is trans acts like a male in front of anybody else. And while I don't know if that's child abuse or not, I don't know everything in this story. I do know that from what I've heard of this story, every party involved has necessarily messed up. In fact, one of the biggest problems I think is they should have took away the children from both parents during the court proceedings, allowing measured access, just to see certain things. I do not believe that Jeff Younger has any bad things in mind for his child, and quite honestly, the California law is written in such a way that, well, you could adopt your own children, and whether or not they agree that they're trans or not, as long as you're giving them affirming care. You're on the right side, according to California. And yes, I've read through the laws. The problem is the Texas Supreme Court can't overstep its boundaries. And one of those boundaries is states' rights. You see, California's law is that you can't extradite, you can't force people to be moved to another state if their child is undergoing transition, gender affirming care, or if they're LGBT and seeking asylum in the state of California. And in some ways, I don't necessarily have a problem with laws like this, but the way these laws get used, I have a massive issue with. I'm not 100% sure the kid is actually what they claim he is. Now, given I'm not going through the whole body of this story because, well, this is probably a very, very, very right-wing thing. Now, as is the case in most southern states, the wife is granted the majority of access to the child through custody law, because the way we view things. But I don't know, and a lot of these things just seems weird. And I'm worried that the mother may be actually doing child abuse to the child. I'm worried that this may end up being sad for both parents in the end. And I would really wish that you people would stop pinging me about this, because this is actually a very difficult situation for me to talk about, given my peculiarities to what I am. But I would like to thank most of you for at least you're wanting to know my thoughts and opinions on this. I'm not staying on the fence. Like I said, I don't think this law is... I think this is a lot bigger issue than what most people think it should be. And in the case of one or two people that, well, I would just go this way, well, our society is so demoralized that I don't think that there's any good side of this story. And I really don't want to record any more videos on it. I'm a gaming channel, not a news channel. But that's just it. I can't do this. I just really can't. Maybe some other broadcaster will pick it up and actually talk about the problems here. But I just really don't think it'll be me. That being said, I do believe in an age of consent for such things. I believe that we need to have a necessary conversation of when the age of consent is, because I don't believe that a child can choose its gender. The child doesn't really know much of anything. Anyways, I have to run, and hopefully this answers questions of why I've been avoiding this story. Later. Okay, we're gonna actually do it. We're gonna actually do it. I'm gonna fix you all out. The Texas Supreme Court dismissed Jeff Younger's petition to prohibit his ex-wife from moving their 2 children to California, where law became effective on Sunday that provides refuge for trans kids and their families from other states' restrictions on child gender modification. This law is, like I said, heavily written in a way that could very much destroy... It could very much destroy the family unit as we know it, just by forcing... It's very hard for me to articulate how I feel about this. Younger and his ex-wife, and I ain't even going to pronounce that last name, are in a years-long custody dispute over their sons, one of whom, James, identifies as a transgender female named Luna, according to Younger objects to this and contends that James identifies and acts as a male around him. The other issue I have with this is family friends have also noted that James acts like a male around them and does not identify as a girl unless the mother is present, which is generally not a good sign in transgender people. In August 2021, a Dallas District Court judge granted Jurelis full custody, but in October 2021, a court order agreed to by both parents stated that neither parent may treat a child with hormonal suppression therapy, puberty blockers, or transgender reassignment surgery, if any, without the consent of the parents or court order. But California Senate Bill 107, which this is the important part of this, prohibits the enforcement of an order based off of another state's law authorizing a child to be removed from their parent and or guardian based on that parent or guardian allowing their child to receive gender-affirming health care or gender-affirming mental health care. Now, that is the important part of this. You see, both parents had to consent or a court order. But in California, it doesn't matter because it's helping the child, even though I do have a feeling there is a slight bit of, abuse here. In light of this law, Younger petitioned the state Supreme Court to order the wife to return the children to Texas before the California law became effective on New Year's Day, and the court agreed to reconsider the case before 2022's end. The Office of the Attorney General sided with Younger in the amicus off letter. On New Year's Eve, the Texas Supreme Court dismissed Younger's position, saying that the appeal was both belated and unnecessary. There's a lot of problems here. Justice Don Devine dissented from the court or from the majority's decision. The court cannot intervene based off of a tremendous speculation without the other courts might do in the future at the request of a party who may never ask. The court's concurring opinion reads, written by Justices Jeremy Blacklock and Evan Young, despite the fact that it is about obvious that the woman has moved to California to do this to her son. The only court to have acted so far has preserved the father's right to withhold consent to gender transition therapy for his son. This right is enforceable in California, where the mother lacks the legal authority to consent such therapy for the child, both before and after SB 107. The justices added that if that name attempts to modify the district court order allowing her child to begin gender transition therapies without Younger's consent, he could seek immediate appellate relief. Well, there's one problem about that, and we will be looking up this bill real quick. So give me a second. I know I am horribly prepared for this stuff. The justices added that modify allowing her child to begin without Younger's consent, he could, Okay, according to California law, will protect kids and their families if they flee to California from Alabama, Texas. Oh, wait, hold on. It says Alright. Senator Gavin Newsom cited into law Senator Scott Wynn of San Francisco legislation that would provide refuge for trans kids and their families. Senate Bill 107 will take effect on January 1st, 2023. SB 107 will protect trans kids and their families if they flee to California from Alabama, Texas, or Ohio, or any other state, criminalizing the parents of trans kids, allowing them to receive gender-affirming care. If these parents and their kids come to California, the legislation will help prevent them from having their kids taken away from them and being criminally prosecuted for supporting their trans kids' access to health care. So, basically, by California law, there's no relief. You're talking about a whole can of worms. It has these three main components. It prohibits the enforcement of a law of another state that authorizes a state agency to remove a child from their parent or guardian based on the parent or guardian allowing their child to receive gender-affirming health care. This bill would, it bars compliance in California with any out-of-state subpoena seeking health or other related information about people who come to California to receive gender-affirming care. Wait, that means that whole court order originally is just out the window by Section 2 of this. And this is just a summary because I don't feel like reading through the whole thing. It bars compliance in It bars compliance with any out-of-state subpoena. It prohibits law enforcement participation in the arrest or extradition of an individual that criminalizes allowing a person to receive or provide gender-affirming healthcare without that contact is lawful in California and the fullest extent permitted by federal law. It will declare that California's public policy that any out-of-state criminal arrest warrant for someone based on violating another state's law against receiving gender-affirming care is the lowest priority for law enforcement in California. So basically, no matter what the man does, he can't do anything so long as she stays in California. And because she was given refugee status in California, that means this law applies to her and her children. So, do you really want me to talk about how problematic this is? There is a massive problem here. And of course, somebody in the comments going to go, but Jackie, you're a tranny. Yeah, I am. But that doesn't mean I don't value the actual people behind this. And I don't know why y'all kept wanting me to talk about this. The concurring opinion also admonished Younger for representing himself in the filing. He did not file the petition with named legal counsel. Given the complexity of the case history and sensitivity of novelty of many of the legal arguments involved, the father would be well advised to seek competent counsel if he again perceives this relief in court, which there is no relief to this in Texas court. You would have to go to something higher. Reads a footnote in the opinion. However, they have probably blocked him from federal court, which is a bunch of activists anyway. Another footnote states that Younger has refused to see if either of his children are in over a year. The justice stated they found it troubling. I don't know if that's the case, honestly. If she moved to California, I don't know if maybe she was holding them from him or something like that. But then again, I don't know 100% of what's going on in the backstory of this at all. Younger's original position says that the case, because Younger refused to participate in the abuse of his son at the court order supervision of visitation. Younger refused to violate his conscience and sincerely held religious belief by affirming that his son is a girl. His son who does not act like a girl in front of family, friends, or Younger, which is the important part to take here. And like I said, I'm reading this from a right-wing source. The court ordered psychologists supervising Younger refused to allow him to change his son out of address. They would have forced Younger to affirm his son as a girl. He would also fear that his son would be embarrassed to appear in a dress and his parents, causing emotional trauma, which is one of the hardest parts of... Yeah, it's actually very hard. Younger reacted to this dismissal, stating on Twitter, "The Supreme Court of Texas denied my mandamus, effectively terminating my parental rights. My children are now subjects to being chemically castrated in California. Texas is an empire of child abuse led by Texas judges," which I would actually agree with. "Our legal system has become too activist for its own good." About this contentation, a rejoinder from the concurrent opinion said, "Concern if any of this will happen would be entirely speculative in my case. In this case, given that mother has now represented both his court and district court, she has no intention of trying to make it happen. It is merely speculative, but potentially prohibited." However, what I just read in that law points out that it's not prohibitive, and Texas has no power over these children so long as they remain in California. But the OAG contended in his letter that the California law may present a problem for orders such as the one that governs Younger children's custody. The law is set to go into effect in just 9 days, meaning that the enforceability of an unknown number of Texas children custody orders could be in jeopardy if this call fails to provide relief, the office wrote. The need for a release in this case is particularly acute because the question presented here is both of the constitutional significance are the conflicting of opposite state laws likely to occur over the next 9 days. Younger further retweeted, the only safe way for a man to have children is through a surrogate. In marriage, children effectively at law belong to the mother, not the father. Most of the men lose their kids. Surrogacy is the only way for men to secure their prosperity. And unfortunately, in modern times, he would be actually absolutely correct. I mean, I've actually seen this a lot in my lifetime. I have actually seen where a mother dresses a boy in a dress because she wanted a girl. Where she teaches somebody to absolutely hate women because, well, they're not good. I've seen things like that. I've seen the damage it does to people. Take in mind, I've also seen people that legitimately have problems with who they are, being one of them myself. James Younger is not currently receiving any medical gender transition procedures, but he continues to be treated by George Ellis as Luna. The ruling sets the table for another white-hot debate over prospective bans of gender modification procedures on children. Multiple versions of bans have already been filed by legislation ahead of this coming session after the 2021 version stalled out in the Texas House. Now, there's a lot here, like I said, that I don't know how I can go about talking about it being who I am. This is going to be a lot longer video than what I normally do. And I'm going to be honest with you, guys, hold your butts on this. Now, I've always been an advocate for children being involved with both parents. I've always been an advocate for a more family-centric home. And that's where this starts to become a problem. This is where all of this becomes a problem. You see, the California law essentially makes it to where, well, you can't leave California, where that child is safe to violate any agreements forged in Texas court. But at the same time, it also labels anybody that's anti-LGBTQ an extremist, anti-this, anti-that. And I don't even know where I fall on that scale. You see, I don't have a problem with transgender individuals. I know a lot of them that are fairly stable, like myself. But at the same time, I don't know that this child is necessarily that. From what I've read about the case over the years, it seems that only in the presence of the mother does Luna personality exist. And I don't know why I need to talk about this again, because to me it's gross. I don't know anything about the child. But at the same time, I have a problem with this bill in California because I do think that there needs to be more talking and debate. I don't necessarily think that forcing a child to live as a girl via legal means is a good thing. And this is coming from somebody that read Dr. Money's studies and was so appalled that he threw up, she threw up, whichever pronouns you choose to use. But I don't know how to talk about this in any kind of fact or anything. And that's why this has been relegated to multiple days of reading and research. And I just don't know. This actually scares me and hurts me a lot. But I don't want to be a political channel. I said I would talk about something if it was important enough. And I think this is important enough. Anyways, I love you guys. I mean it. And whatever side of this issue you fall on, I want you to know that I get it. I understand being conflicted. But at the same time, like I said, there is evidence to point out that there's some child abuse here. And beyond that, I want you guys to just think about it for a minute before you start posting about things. Anyways, guys, love you. Mean it. You guys rock. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.